Hey guys, Captain Henson here. So in today's video, I'll be talking about Godzilla 2014. So I should have a bit of context before talking about the film itself. Leading up to the movie, and so this would have been between 2010 and 2014. Of course, by then, if you've watched my video, my kaiju collection video, you will know this. I was a huge Godzilla fan. So, I was lucky in that I got into Godzilla before they even announced 2014. Again, I got into it on my own. No outside factors like, a major movie coming out. So again, I got into Godzilla before even 2014 was announced. So, when I did catch wind of it, and keep in mind, this was before I, actively searched up movie news. So any news I got were from Godzilla YouTubers I watched. Zazubar being the Godzilla YouTuber I watched at the time. Well, in terms of reviewing movies. I did watch other Godzilla YouTubers who were more figure-based, like Deadzilla, back in the day. But in terms of movies, Zazubar was the guy. He doesn't upload as much anymore, which is unfortunate, but if I would recommend you go through his Godzilla content. I'm fairly certain it was through him that I first caught wind of the announcement. And back then, all we really had were those Comic-Con promo art, or the Comic-Con promo art. I can't remember if at that point we had the teaser yet, had the Comic-Con exclusive teasers yet. I don't remember. But anyways, yeah, I wasn't able to watch the Comic-Con teaser until, well, a few years after the film was released. Because Legendary did a really good job at like pulling those from the internet, even though at least they did. I can't remember if it was 2 or 1 now. For the sake of argument, I'll just say 1. It didn't reveal anything. They just had the recording of Eisenhower giving his, I think it was Eisenhower? Yeah, Oppenheimer. It was Oppenheimer giving his, I become death, the destroyer of worlds speech, overlaid with the destroyed city, and then we see the carcass of a monster. And I'm spacing on what the fans have called it, or what the creature... It was a giant insect, but I can't remember of what insect. Point is, it was a teaser that didn't reveal anything. Every day, and I had never done this before or since, every day I would look up news. I would go to, I think it was Gojipedia, but every day I would go to the Wikipedia page looking up news. And of course, as you can imagine, because I was looking it up daily, I wasn't always, gifted new information. And of course, having the timer up on the top, counting down to the release was agonizing. But every day I would look up news. Little tidbits, little tidbits would pop up, finding out, okay, he's fighting these monsters called Mutos, even getting concept art. And then the first trailer dropped. And I remember specifically where I was. My dad and I were heading to an IMAX theater to watch Desolation of Smog. And the trailer dropped. And of course I watched it while we were in the car. Before watching the trailer, I knew that the film was going for a more darker tone, more in line with the original. So I was really excited. Really excited to get a dark Godzilla film again. And that trailer did not disappoint. You can easily watch the trailer for yourself, but yeah, seeing the Halo jump, seeing like small snippets of Godzilla, but not really getting a good look at him. It had a very apocalyptic tone, and that's exactly what I wanted out of the movie. And of course, at the end, we got the shot of Godzilla, covered in smoke, roaring. Now, this may be a case of the Mandela effect, but I swear the roar was different back when that trailer was first released. I don't know how to describe it. What I thought it sounded like, or what it may have sounded like. Point is, please comment down below if you felt the same way, that the roar changed from that first trailer moving forward. Because when I go back to it, it sounds how it does, in everything, and, the MonsterVerse. But I swear when it was first released, the roar sounded different. But yeah, that trailer gave me everything I wanted out of the movie. Yeah, 2014 couldn't come soon enough. And so, several more months of, looking up news on the daily, my family and I, rewatched 1954 in preparation. I didn't have Godzilla Awakening at the time, so that kind of sucked, but yeah. Yeah, so anyway. So we go to the IMAX theater, because of course we're going to see this fucking movie in IMAX, and we were the first in line. Like, it seemed like everything was going right that day. I wouldn't compare it to my experience with the TCW movie, because that will always be the greatest movie-going experience I've ever had. But this was... So, the movie, it's so... For the first time, I did really like it. Oh, and I should also say that before the release of the film, I played Godzilla Smash 3 and Godzilla Strike Zone. Because, yeah, of course I will. Now, Smash 3 didn't really give me much, but as Godzilla, you did go through destroying the military, so keep that tidbit in mind. And in Strike Zone, it's essentially the Halo jump. You play as Ford, you perform the Halo jump, and it's essentially you going around a destroyed San Francisco, signaling copters, to rescue civilians. Godzilla is the only monster seen there. Not even attacking anything else. He's just meandering about. So, in Smash 3, and, destroying attacking the military, the Mutos are also in there, but having Godzilla attack the military is the important part. In Strike Zone, in the San Francisco... Godzilla is the only one in San Francisco, and going back to that first trailer, how it was presented was that Godzilla was an antagonist. Now, we knew the Mutos were going to be in the movie, but from how the trailers were portraying it, Godzilla was also going to be a threat. He was the one who destroyed San Francisco. He is the one that Joe Brody's referring to when he says, and it's going to send us back to the Stone Age. Anger's rising because I'm just... With all that in mind, when I first saw the movie, I liked it, but a part of me was really fucking disappointed. Going back to the trailer again. Watch the first trailer and watch the movie. They lied in the marketing. And of course, Rogue One would do the same with its marketing. Giving us advertising a completely different movie than the one we got. Scenes were changed in the trailer compared to how they were in 2014. Scenes with the Mutos were altered so that the Mutos didn't appear. The Halo jump, for instance. When Godzilla finally comes into frame, it's just Godzilla. Him fighting the Muto, no, the Muto's not even there. Or as the doors are closing, as Ellie and the other civilians are heading to the shelters, you see Godzilla walk up and roar. The Muto doesn't fly in and start attacking him, it's just Godzilla roaring. So then, the next few times I watched it, I couldn't get that out of my head. The film wasn't what I wanted. The trailers gave me what I wanted, but the film didn't. Now, the issue is that those trailers not only gave me the film I wanted, what was more so promised, but also they lied. Just flat out lied. With the passage of time, my initial anger at not getting what the trailers promised subsided. Now I like this movie. And I disagree with people that say it's boring. It's not boring. I won't really do a plot. I won't do a plot summary here. It's good. I would have preferred the film that was promised to us in the trailers, but what we have here is good. And I do think a lot of the criticisms that were initially levied against the film were bullshit. Like Godzilla's lack of screen time, even though, you compare it to every other film he's in, this is an average amount of screen time for him. The fight scenes being too dark, that only became a problem with the DVD and Blu-ray releases, because for whatever reason, they just turned down the fucking saturation here. It's not impossible to see what's happening. As long as you're not blind, you should still be able to make things out. It'd be nice if it was It would be nice if if it was more visible, but it's not impossible to make out. You can still see what's going on. The human characters being dull and uninteresting. Again, that's something I disagree with. But that's far more subjective thing. Aaron Taylor Johnson not having the best acting in this movie, again, subjective. I disagree. He's playing a soldier who's Well, that's just it. He's playing a soldier. And for those who know how soldiers operate, or how they can operate, they know how to keep their emotions in check. And while they can, have their emotions come out, like what happens in this movie, for the most part, they're I don't want to say stoic, but they know how to keep their emotions in check. Not to mention, he had a traumatic childhood, so him acting the way he does, in my opinion, makes sense. Now, a problem I do have with this movie is that, and this also stems from the marketing, for a film called Godzilla, he's not the main focus of the movie. He's important and is a major focus, but he's not the main focus. The Mutos are the monsters of this movie. Now, I can give them credit for doing the opposite of Marvel, in that they focus far more on the heroes than the villains, which is a problem because the villains, for the most part, are only going to be in that one movie. So to not really develop them is a problem. But here, though, again, the MonsterVerse wasn't a thing at this point, but the idea of sequels was definitely on the table. The Mutos are given most of the focus, and also I understand it to a point of, even if you have never seen a Godzilla film, you know Godzilla, you know his abilities. But still, though, and it would have worked more if they did. Of course, having Godzilla be the main focus, they would have had to have gone for that apocalyptic tone I was talking about earlier. Honestly, I don't even think it's that much of an issue. It just, I don't know. I would have preferred that if, for the first film, not only the first Godzilla film we gotten in 10 years, but also the first major American Godzilla film we had since 98. I think he should have been the main focus, because the monsters that kick off the plot are the Mutos. The one who affect the Brodies are the Mutos. And the ones that, again, kick off the military plot are the Mutos. But again, I can't say it's that much of a problem. Because they're doing the opposite of Marvel here. They know that the Mutos at least these specific Mutos will only be in this movie, so it's best to develop them as much as possible. Give them more of a focus. And then that also goes to another point about this film, is that this film does what I think every single movie that's the start of a cinematic universe should do. It should be a solid standalone movie first. And if it does well, then you can go crazy with your cinematic universe. Again, important thing to note, this wasn't meant to be the start of a cinematic universe, that came later. But it still works, but the point still stands. It works very well as a standalone piece. If we never got a Godzilla film or a MonsterVerse film after this, it would still work on its own. It's not like a Marvel movie where, quite frankly, it doesn't work well on its own. And this goes for the other MonsterVerse movies too. They all work well on their own. You don't need the entire MonsterVerse to really get something out of them. And in that regard, and this may sound blasphemous, I will claim that the MonsterVerse is a far more effective, impactful, and emotionally fulfilling cinematic universe than the MCU. Yes, I went there. It just stems from the fact that these films care more about being solid stories on their own. That, here's how I put it. So far, these have been stories that are solid stories that just so happen to take place in a shared universe, is the best way I can describe it. Now, of course, we do get connectivity in terms of, characters showing up, referencing, the plots of previous movies. But for the most part, overall, each film is a satisfying experience, which I cannot say for any or most MCU movies. MCU tirade aside, if you haven't seen this film in a few years, I would say watch it. Put aside that initial disappointment. Watch it on its own, because that's the important thing here. Once my anger was, subsided and no longer there, I really like this movie. I don't think it's a slog at all. I think that complaint was always bullshit, because the film has a really good pace. I don't think it slows down in the second act. It has a good pace, the plot is constantly moving, even if... No, the plot is constantly moving. And the characters are, constantly moving, to the next... Scratch that. This is a good... If you want to introduce somebody to Godzilla and you don't want to sit them down and watch 1954 because they'll bitch about, the suitimation, the miniatures, I'd say this is a good one. This is a good starting point. It's modern, and I'd say that's that. It's modern. Because the unfortunate reality is that, and I do disagree with Shinobi 3 on this, is that you can make a really solid kaiju or Godzilla movie. That takes itself seriously, that lets the audience know that they, as people who are into this genre, can take this seriously. I would say that's not gonna help. That's not really gonna push, in my opinion, that many people into becoming Godzilla fans or kaiju fans in general. Now, I don't think it's strictly, you had to have been a kid to get into this. I disagree. I can't comment too much because I was a kid myself when I got into it. But the thing is, it's like, I can only describe it as, if you're not into it, then you're not into it. Because I love Godzilla and the kaiju genre in general. I can even take the more goofier movies, like the 70s stuff, within the context on their own. I can take them seriously. They are guys in suits fighting each other, blazing through miniatures. But I don't make fun of that, because not only do I like it, I know what they're going for. I appreciate what they're going for, and in the context, I have no reason to make fun of it. But other people, my mom for instance, considers it goofy, cheesy. I don't. I love that. But not everyone is going to love it, and I would have to say it is an acquired taste. There's a reason why kaiju in genre, or giant monsters in general, are a niche market. Because many people will look at them and just wave it off, laugh it off. And no amount of serious kaiju work will ever change that. Now, I still say we should fight for them to understand why you shouldn't just laugh off all of this awesome work. But still, though, all that is to say, how King of the Monsters portrayed itself with the spectacle isn't a problem. As someone who likes the spectacle, I really liked it. And I really like this one. All it is to say, if you have someone, or you are someone who wants to get into Godzilla, I'd say this is a good introduction. It's modern and has more modern sensibilities, so it's a good segue. And if you like what you see, then, of course, by all means, you got at this point, over 65 years. Oh my god, this was the 60th anniversary. Oh my god. All those years ago, time certainly has flown. At this point, we have over 65 years of history. So, delve in and, well, from me to you, welcome to the amazing world of giant monsters. So, what did you guys think of the movie? Did you like it? Were you initially disappointed after watching the trailers? Let me know in the comments section below. Until next time, this is Captain Henson, signing off.